Welcome to the 1 to 1 Million podcast, your weekly crypto alpha for those who never quit. Today, we're going to be diving into the current state of the market. We're going to be looking at, is retail actually showing up right now? Is that what's happening? Is retail coming back, or is that just a mirage? Where do I expect the market to go next? We're at almost 100K Bitcoin. Some of the alts are starting to gain a little bit of traction. What does this mean? Where are we headed next? How much more room do we have to go? Is the bull market almost over? Is this the end of the market? Is this the start of the market? What does the data show us right now? And lastly, we're going to take a peek at liquidity, the Fed, quantitative tightening, and kind of what to expect in that realm as well. Currently, as of the time of this recording, Bitcoin is sitting at 96,000, Ethereum sitting at 3564, and Solana sitting at $240. And something you may have noticed over the past couple days is that Ethereum relative to Bitcoin and Solana has been outperforming. Now, obviously, this is just 2 days, so it really doesn't matter that much. But I think it is an early foreshadowing of what we're going to see in late December, early January, which is I think we're going to see a pretty strong rotation into Ethereum. Like, it's not going to be maybe the number one thing that's performing in the market. It never will be. Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's always going to be something outperforming it because they're just so big in terms of size that there's always going to be like a smaller tokens doing like a 4x that week and outperforming. But what I mean is we're about to transition from this phase of the market where currently we've been in a Bitcoin-led bull run. It depends on how you define a bull run. Some people would say that over the past 2 years, since late 2022, we've been in a bull run. In like the crypto native realm, and like all of us who are like really deeply plugged into the space, we wouldn't call this a bull run, even though we're like up a ton. Like, I've made so much money over the past couple of years. I still wouldn't call it a bull run. What we define as a bull run is typically the mania phase of the bull cycle. It's when everyone loves crypto. Like, okay, over the last 2 years, if I were to tell somebody, hey, I'm involved in crypto, they usually like kind of treat me like I'm a drug dealer or something. And in general, it's just not a popular thing to talk about. People kind of hate it. And like in popular consensus, nobody's talking about crypto. So we would define a bull run is the moment that switches. Like, it's cool again to talk about that you're in crypto. People are like, wow, tell me more. In general, a lot of people like crypto. It's popular again. It's kind of that mania phase where like alts are popping off. It's penetrating mainstream culture, that kind of thing. That's what we would define as a bull run. But in general, early stage in the cycle, you see the cycle led by Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, it has all the momentum. It has all the energy. It is pulling the markets forward and the markets up. And on like a dollar money coming in basis, like it's bringing in the vast majority of the wealth. Bitcoin's like a $1.9 trillion asset or something like, I don't know exact off the top of my head, but it's massive. It's in the trillions of dollars, right? It's like over $1 trillion, close to $2 trillion. That's a lot of money in Bitcoin. Some of these altcoins that are popping off, they're going from like $1 billion in market cap to like $2 billion in market cap, which is a big move. People would be like, that's crazy. But like you add $1 billion to Bitcoin and it hardly moves. That's like not a big deal for Bitcoin because it's so large. So the vast majority of wealth is coming in Bitcoin, and the market is being led by Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin's going up, everything else is going up. When Bitcoin goes down, in general, everything else goes down. Well, what happens right before the like bull market is you typically see this switch to where it's an Ethereum-led market. And what I mean by that is like, again, the majority of wealth might still be coming in via Bitcoin. Like you might have the vast majority of like overall wealth still coming in via Bitcoin, but like Ethereum starts dictating the overall momentum and direction of the market. And that really has to do with the fact that Ethereum's also just a really large asset. It's over 400 billion or something right now. And it's just very big comparatively to the next biggest thing would be Solana. It's sitting at like 120 billion. Okay, so Ethereum is huge, and everyone pretty much holds Ethereum. And if they don't hold it, like project treasuries hold it, or it's like an LP pair for like various assets. And ETH is literally on every single chain out there. It's on Solana. It's on all the L2s. Like Ethereum just kind of penetrates the entire crypto space. So when we switch typically from this environment where it's like a Bitcoin-led market to an Ethereum-led market, what you see is a massive rotation into the alts. So you see a lot of money rotate into the altcoins that start to wildly outperform. Where Bitcoin might go up, like 20%, some of these alts are doing like a 3x, 5x, 10x, etc. They just start to go bananas at the same time. This is what people call alt season, when altcoins are like where you make the majority of your money. And the catalyst for alt season is typically switching from a Bitcoin-led market to an Ethereum-led market. And again, that has to do with the wealth effects in Ethereum. So when Ethereum's moving up, it has an outsized effect on the wealth generated that's able to be used to go invest into all of these various alts. And I think that this early strength that you're seeing in Ethereum is an early sign that we're getting ready to transition to that phase. I don't think it's going to happen right now specifically, but again, I think it's going to happen late December, early January. That's when you're going to start to see ETH kind of take over the mantle of the market. And then I expect maybe late January, February for us to see a really strong alt season. Now, we've currently been seeing a rotation into alts. I would consider this early positioning. So this isn't alt season. This is early positioning where people are starting to see. Maybe like 5 weeks ago when I was talking about alt season, people were calling me crazy. They were thinking I was just stupid. They were at that time also, they were just saying that crypto wasn't going to go up. I was saying we were going to see this crazy rally into 2024, and nobody believed it, even up to like 5-6 weeks ago. And that's because we'd gone from April, basically down only from April all the way to October. And they just thought that that was going to continue. But I was saying, no, we're going to see a late market rally in 2024 into 2025. And people didn't see it at that time. But now they're seeing that happening, right? They're finally seeing that happening. But then the next thing they've been saying is like, no, it's going to be no utility coins, no altcoins. It's going to be a meme coin super cycle. Meme coins are going to capture all the attention. Nobody's going to pay attention to alts. And so they're going to be dead. And what's happening right now is some people are starting to finally see that this alt season is inevitable. It's coming. And they're positioning early for that. So they're actually taking up positions in the market. But I would call this like the first, like the vanguard first wave of participants coming in and jumping into these alts. You're also seeing this wave of retail coming into the market. And I've had to create different categories for retail because they are very different depending on certain demographics, age, wealth, etc. For example, like there's a category of retail that has been getting into memes and has definitely jumped full force into memes. And they tend to be younger and they have less capital and they're gambling on memes. And then there's this other demographic of retail that's far wealthier. They have a lot more money. They're a little bit older and they're not getting into memes. They're coming back in the market and they're buying all the things that they're familiar with from last cycle. So that's why you've seen things like EOS, Cardano, XRP. And what we would call in crypto, a lot of these dinosaur coins are popping off and gaining a lot of traction. And I believe that's a clear sign that this first wave of retail is coming back into the market and they're buying the things that they were familiar with last cycle. And so that's why you're seeing them go up. I've talked a lot about like rotational principles, how like wealth rotates from Bitcoin to ETH, and it goes up to 3 degrees of separation. So it's always looking for like, what's the beta? Like I missed out on this opportunity. What's going to go up next kind of thing. And I think for these market participants, it makes a lot of sense in their head that like Bitcoin goes up, therefore Cardano, XRP, EOS, these things that went up last time for them, Avalanche, are going to be the things that go up next. And so that's the way that they're playing beta. But don't be deceived because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and YouTube and TikTok and all over the place that are talking about this is alt season, like the, Bitcoin dominance is falling like crazy, all seasons here, blah, 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 blah. But if you actually look at Bitcoin dominance, it is not falling like crazy. Actually, I could probably show this on the screen. As you can see in 2016, 2017, we saw Bitcoin dominance fall off a cliff. It went from 95% to at the bottom of the market, 37%. That is a huge drop. And even in 2020, 2021, we saw it go from 70% to, at its bottom around 40%. That's also a huge drop. Now this cycle, it's dropped from 60% to 58%. So it's only dropped 2%. And I expect it to drop significantly more. I actually think that it could break this bottom of 37% and go a bit lower than that this cycle, just because people are starting to recognize finally the value in crypto. And people are finally starting to see, the different use cases for things like stable coins, tokenization, real world assets, on-chain AI use cases, etc., as well as crypto gaming, gambling, prediction markets. There's just so much within the crypto space that is matured and people can see the real value. And we've had a few breakout successes that I think it's likely that, I think there's a case to say, maybe it doesn't break that bottom just because we have things like the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. We have the ETF. We just have a lot more attention on Bitcoin, and it's a lot bigger capital as far as Bitcoin goes. But I think on the other hand, there's a case to be made that there's a lot of crypto projects with bringing a lot of value that could eat into that maybe a little bit more of the cycle. I guess it really could go both ways now that I'm talking about it and saying it. But at a bare minimum, I expect it to get close to that bottom number. And so when people say, Bitcoin dominance is falling off a cliff and that, Altseason's here, et cetera, no, we're barely dropping. We're dropping 1%. It's nothing right now. I expect that to kick into overdrive around February. Around February, I think alts are going to start going bananas. And that's going to be when we really kick into this alt season where a lot of people are putting a lot more emphasis and attention on alts. And so early positioning in alts right now, I think is a huge opportunity. It's where a lot of people aren't paying attention. They've been paying attention to memes. I've seen a lot of really smart people within crypto capitulate into this whole meme coin super cycle. They're buying memes, talk about memes now. I think it's a massive mistake. They're going to see that later. In general, if you just do what everyone else is doing, you're going to lose because the average person doesn't become a multimillionaire investing in crypto. It's always the outlier. It's always the person that's looking ahead, looking at what's going to come next. And so I believe that's going to be alts. I believe there's a huge opportunity right now to be getting into alts that won't, it's opportunities time limited, right? Once alts start kicking off, you're going to be I could have gotten into these prices. I've been talking about this for years. Okay. So you could have gotten in way cheaper during past videos that I've done and past podcasts that I've done. Where a lot of these things were at bottom dollar pennies, right? And then they've gone up quite a bit, and they're going to go up quite a bit more. And I think the biggest moves by and far are ahead. Narratives to watch before we hit an alt season. Obviously, one would be AI. I think a lot of people have guessed at AI being pretty popular. So a lot of these AI tokens, some of that is priced in, right? So there's not this extreme opportunity in most cases. But I still think we have at least one AI token that hits over 100 billion. I think AI's tokens are going to do great. Retail has sat on the sidelines wanting to get into AI. Pretty much the only play that they've had has been NVIDIA. It's $1 trillion market cap. There's just not a lot of smaller opportunities. And so I think this is going to be an opportunity for them to gamble on some smaller plays. And it just makes so much sense that retail comes back and they're oh, that's an AI crypto. That sounds like that could be, a good idea. And it just makes sense to them. It's familiar to them. So I think AI crypto tokens are going to do really well. One that's not consensus, and most people I don't think recognize would be crypto gaming. There's some really smart people on the fringes that have identified this up front. They're hey, crypto gaming is an obvious use case. This is going to be huge. I'm one of those people that believe that it's going to be huge. It's an obvious use case. There's a lot of people that disagree with me on that. I think they're stuck in this 2021 mindset of what crypto gaming was, or they just don't understand the idea of ownership and how much value that can bring to an ecosystem. But I think this is a no-brainer, easy bet in my opinion. There has been so much money funneled into these crypto games. They've learned a lot of hard lessons in 2021. They've improved on those lessons. We have some AAA studios releasing some pretty amazing games, and a lot of those have been releasing this year. We're going to see a lot of those released next year. And I think with the crypto market going up, there's a lot of free capital floating around. Some of these items in these games are going to get bid up way too high. That's going to ensue some sort of, and the tokens too for these games. And that's going to cause a mania where a lot of players are going to jump into these games trying to earn money. And you're going to see the user stats jump up just because of that. And that alone is kind of a self-feeding loop, right? So user stats jump up because all these people and a lot of it's when you look at Axie Infinity and some of these breakout hits from last cycle, a lot of it's Philippines or places that have lower wages where it's a full, you can make more than your full-time job playing some of these games. It's really impactful for them. And so especially as more money flows in the system, it's going to get more and more impactful. So you're going to see more users coming to these games. The stats are going to look really good where people are going to be oh my gosh, look how many users are playing these games. So even if you don't ultimately believe in crypto gaming, which I do, but even if you don't ultimately believe in crypto gaming, people are just going to fall for that. As soon as they see those stats, they're going to be oh my gosh, these things are taking off. Bid these tokens to the moon. This is the next big wave. And, in a bull run, people kind of lose their minds. Everything gets way more frothy than people expect. And so that alone, I think, will cause a crypto gaming rotation, even if you don't believe in the fundamentals, which, I do believe in the use. I think it's a killer use case. Maybe one of the best product market fits as far as crypto go that there is. So I'm not saying at all that it isn't. Crypto gaming, I think, will be massive. but it's going to take a little bit longer. And it has taken longer than most people expect because building really good games takes time. But if that's the case, most people are fading crypto gaming. I really don't see how it doesn't pop off. There's a lot of room to position in that category that I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to. I have quite a few smaller positions that I'm in, looking at the rotation, like how rotations happen, right? Like I'm in IMX, I'm in Ronin. Those are bigger plays, and they're not going to do anything crazy where it's going to like 1000x because they're already just really big, right? But people invest in those first, and it's going to rotate down the stack. And so I have a couple really small ones that have really powerful narratives. So imagine I'm right. There's a massive crypto gaming rotation, and everyone is like wanting to get into crypto gaming. They're really, really pumped on it. And it's like the new AI narrative. It's the new meme coin mania kind of thing. If that's the case, people are going to be looking for like gems within the crypto gaming space, and they're going to look at the smallest tokens and say, you know, what are these things? They're going to finally start paying attention to them. And I have one that is a kind of like crypto card game, similar to Echelon Prime, similar to Gods Unchained. And it's the person that made it. So Echelon Prime and Gods Unchained are like trying to be like the next Magic the Gathering. It's the most popular trading card game on the planet. The person that made this crypto card game that I just jumped in, that's sitting at like 4 million in market cap, the person that made that is the creator of Magic the Gathering. So the guy Richard who created Magic the Gathering created this game, this crypto game, and it's sitting at $4 million in market cap. And I think that narrative right there, creator of Magic the Gathering created this crypto game. I think that alone is going to just send this thing like skyrocketing once you see a crypto gaming rotation. Especially looking at like Gods Unchained hit like close to 100 and something million market cap last cycle. Echelon Prime during this bear market hit close to $1 billion in market cap. Some of that's from a little bit of AI hype, but I mean, that was the bear market. I think it could go higher. I think something like this could go higher. So that's like an example of like an early stage opportunity because it's so small. Right now, this game's so small. There's a lot of upside. Like even if it doesn't like fully take off and go crazy, if it goes to 100 million, which is not crazy during a bull run, that's a lot of upside and a lot of potential. And so that one's called Soulforge, SFG. It's on Solana if you want to check it out. There are some nuances with the FTV. The FTV is extremely high compared to the market cap. That scares a lot of people away, but I've done my research on how those tokens are hitting the market. And from that research, it's not going to be an issue, at least over the next 12 months. I have a video coming out in the future that goes into more details around that and how that works. By the way, obviously, none of this is investment advice or me telling you to buy any of these things. This is just my thoughts on the market and kind of trying to explain the way that I'm doing things, how I'm like looking at the market and why I'm doing certain things as like a Pinterest board, an example, something to look at. You have to obviously do your own research and make your own choices when it comes to investing in things. And I hold SFG, and any tokens I talk about, assume that I hold them. Another token I'm jumping into, and I've talked about on my channel, is UNA. That's on Base. For one, I think Base is going to do really good. I think Base tokens are going to do really good. Same thing, imagine you have like this crazy gaming rotation, kind of like the meme coin mania we just went through. People are looking for the next big thing. This thing's sitting at $2 million in market cap, and it's from ex-Ubisoft developers. So these guys all used to work for Ubisoft. They work on games like The Division, Far Cry, and now they're building out this Web3 project. So I think that narrative is all that matters. I think that's what's sticky. That's what will cause it to go viral and spread. And I just don't see how like something at $2 million in market cap during a full-fledged bull cycle doesn't hit like 200 million or at the bare minimum 20 million, okay? Like 10x my money. And so that's how I'm thinking of it. I'm like looking like 2 steps ahead, and I'm positioning myself. There's a lot of other narratives that I think are going to be really bullish during the bull cycle. Just think of the things that are going to make the most sense to retail. And I think those things are going to be some of the hottest narratives out there. So gaming, that makes sense to people. AI, that makes sense to people. Just think of things that people can easily wrap their head around. Those are going to be really big, but the opportunity really just depends on like, does the market see that today or do they not? And some of these ones that maybe are a little bit less clear or less retail friendly still could pop off, especially like the vagueness. If there's a good narrative around it and it's vague, sometimes that like helps it succeed because people don't fully understand it. So like it's like sci-fi in their head. So then they put a ton of money because they think it's going to be the future and they don't fully understand it. So those things also could do really well. It just depends again if the market's already seen that and front ran it and like it's already elevated cost, or if it's like sitting cheap right now and there's still a lot of room to run. As a whole, I think people are going to get caught off guard this cycle because they don't quite understand how high some of these things will go because it's going to be unreasonable. Like some of these things are going to go to market caps that completely is disconnected from reality. It doesn't make any sense. There's no amount of logic that you can say this thing's worth this thing. It won't be worth, it'll be way overvalued. But that's what happens during kind of this melt up in a crypto bull run is things disconnect from reality. Prices go way higher than you expect, and it doesn't make any sense. Like people will be paying millions of dollars for virtual land that like 2 years later no one's going to be using, right? That happens in a bull run because people get so greedy. It's a fundamental switch from a bear market. People are fearful. Like fear dictates everything. They're worried about losing money. In a bull market, they're not worried about losing money. In general, everything's doing pretty good. They're trying to make the most money possible. They're trying to find the fastest horse, the thing that's going to go up the highest, the furthest, the fastest. And that causes a lot of greed because, their neighbor, their friend or whatever's jumped into something and did 100x and they want to be the next 100x. You're kind of seeing a little picture of that with the meme coin mania where people are like, okay, like just losing all the time, like just gambling away all their money because they're like, one guy made $1 million investing in like some random crypto and they're like, I could be that person. It's kind of like that kind of mindset. But more so in that, like with meme coins, their narratives are really quick. It goes up over like course of days, maybe a week, and then it's like back down, rotates all the way out, and they lose their money. In general, with crypto, it's not quite like that with the alts. Like you put money in and they kind of just go up, and your portfolio just looks like you're just keep making more and more money. And so it's not as quick and rapid as meme coins, and so people feel a lot more confidence in the market. But the point is it'll go further and higher than most people expect, and there's going to be some people that sell way too early. They're going to struggle with that later in the cycle. And I mean, it's never a mistake to take profits, but it is tough if you sell early and then that thing does 100x and then you try to do like catch up plays and end up losing all your money. That's what some people will end up doing, and you got to be really careful with that. Speaking back on the markets, I do expect, again, volatility. And specifically, every cycle we typically see around early January, some sort of like major pullback and dip that freaks people out. And I don't see why we won't see that again. I fully expect that at some point in between now and January or February, we'll see some kind of crazy retracement. And we just saw like yesterday, we saw like a little Bitcoin went from like 99 to like 90 or something like that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like 99 or 105 all the way back down to 80. Like some crazy thing that like just makes you start sweating. That happens every cycle. It's usually a great entry point for like a lot of the bears and people caught on the sidelines to jump in, and they usually eat that dip up pretty quick and just send it way higher. So yeah, don't get caught off guard if you see that happen. Obviously, you look on a chart and it's just like quick. It's just like boom, boom. But when you're actually living through these things, it could be like days or a week, and it just like it gets in people's head. Nothing worse than like selling that and then getting caught off guard or trying to time that and getting caught on the sidelines as everything just goes higher. So be careful with that. Going through some of my top plays or things I'm maybe excited about right now. I've talked about this for years, but Research Coin, as I've been pumped on, everyone told me DeSci would never be a thing. They told me that narrative would never pop off. And to be fair, I said back that it doesn't need to pop off. I think the narrative is Brian Armstrong's the co-founder, and that's all that matters. And in the bull run, that thing's going to pop. But like, ironically, even before Altseason, we've seen this weird rotation into a DeSci narrative where a lot of DeSci coins have popped off and done really, really well. Our Research Coin has been one of those. And but I expect it to go a lot higher. In a bull run, I expect this thing to absolutely go a lot higher. That's one I'm really excited about right now. Another one of my my current highest conviction plays is WINR. I have a ton of conviction in WINR. I think crypto has like different facets. Like there's this kind of serious, let's change the world, open finance, DeSci, DeFi, even like crypto gaming kind of fits loosely in there, but just like real world assets, stable coins, all this kind of stuff in this one category. And then I think there's like this speculation, gambling, prediction markets, meme coin, launchpad kind of sector of crypto where people just really like to like perpetuals, like let's leverage up to 100x kind of thing. And WINR's made for that category. It's made for that. It's infrastructure. Think of it as like Ethereum for gambling in a sense. It's like it's a Ethereum for gambling. It's this infrastructure layer to launch all of these, or like an app store to launch all of these different front ends. So like casino front ends, which those things print money. Things like Rollbit make like $30 to $60 million a month. Stake.com makes even more. It's like $200 million a month. It's insane how much these things print as far as like these, and those are crypto casinos. Those aren't even like just normal Web2 ones. Those are crypto casinos. They make so much money. It's absurd. So they have front ends for that. They have, and those things have been printing money. So they're just brand new, a couple months old, but they're doing like $500,000 right now. And so just starting off $500,000, crazy. I stake on WINR, and I'm making around $7,000 a month staking. I have a massive bag though. So if you have a smaller bag, you're not gonna make nearly as much. But if it's a $500,000, that's a revenue share. So it's $500,000 today. If that goes to $30 million or $60 million, it'll get out of control. Like the amount of money I'd be making would be like, I don't even want to say it. It's just so high and ridiculous. I don't want to take myself there, get my hopes up. But that's where and that comes from everything. So everything that they do is, they launch meme coin marketplaces. So I think they're getting ready to launch one on Arbitrum or Base or something like that. And so similar to Pump.Fun. So you can, they don't do it. Sorry. They have their ones that they launch. So they can launch their own front ends. And they have done that with some things. But anyone can permissionlessly come launch one of these front ends. And they don't have to worry about all the infrastructure. They don't have to worry about all the liquidity. They just worry about the marketing, the branding, and all that kind of stuff, right? What they include, kind of how they build their business. And so that's kind of the idea is like thousands and thousands of casino front ends, thousands and thousands of meme coin launch pads, thousands and thousands of prediction markets. And most of them fail. But it's other teams taking that risk, putting in the effort, and they've built the infrastructure for them to build on top of that. So the more revenue and fees come in, the higher the yield gets paid out to stakers. I'm really bullish on it because I just think that sector of crypto is not going away. I think we're going to continue to see growth around that sector of crypto over the long haul, even though I think we're rotating into an alt season and memes are going to be, there's no meme coin super cycle. I do think there'll be rotations into memes, kind of like what we saw with NFTs last cycle, all throughout the cycle. I think we'll see a crazy meme coin rally at the very end of the cycle as kind of all the opportunities get exhausted. And in general, like prediction markets, perps that they're doing, like they're getting ready to launch 1000x perps, where you can like take any, you can leverage up any crypto project up to 1000x, which is super irresponsible and you're gonna lose all your money, but people love doing it and it like prints fees and revenue. So that's another one I'm bullish on. I mentioned one earlier. I'm not gonna go through my whole bag and talk about like what I'm bullish on. I hold all these things, I'm bullish on them. I've done my research. I'm positioned and we're gonna find out in a year if I'm right or wrong. Either I'll make a ton of money. There's gonna be some stuff I'm wrong on for sure. Like I have zero doubt that there's gonna be things I talked about that I'm really bullish on, and some of them I just flat out end up being wrong on, and they don't succeed. That is just how it happens, and that's why you gotta have a strategy in the way that you're doing things, and make sure you're using proper position sizing. I've talked about this all in the past. Don't expect everything I talk about to succeed. So if you take like 100% of your net worth and you're like, I'm all in WINR, and that happens to be the one that fails, you're gonna be really angry at me because you're gonna be like, you said it was gonna succeed, and I said no. I'm really bullish on it, but I can't actually predict the future. And so I'm really good at winning, but I'm good at winning because I spread out my risk. And so even if I have some things that fail, I'm still fine because like say I put $1,000 in one, it fails, cool, I lost $1,000. But say I put $1,000 in another one and did 100x, now I've made $100,000. $1,000 can, it sounds stupid and people don't understand it, but it really is just such a strong like game theory. $1,000 can only go to zero. You can only lose $1,000 invested. But $1,000 can turn into $100,000 or $1 million, or if it's the right investment. So if you're good at picking good ones, yeah, you're going to have some that lose. But if you have some that win, you make that all up. Like you make that all up and then some. Okay, and I've had that happen every cycle. Last cycle, I turned $760 and over $150,000 while taking out profits. I had a $3,000 investment turned in over $600,000. It happens. It's rare and it's hard. I'm hoping to hit more this cycle because I've done a lot more research, put in a lot more work. I did not cease to do my research, everything during the bear market. I have worked really hard to make sure I avoid the Ponzi's, avoid the scams, avoid the stupid projects, and then get into the good ones that are going to go up. Even though I do have some on my investment list that I would call stupid as far as tech. Like I don't think they're very good as far as their tech. I just think they're like going to go up because of one of the like a narrative rotation or something like that. So I do have some of those in my portfolio as well. I did intend to look into the Fed, inflation, quantitative tightening, liquidity, etc. This episode's going a little bit long, so I don't think I'm going to have time to go into all those details. Maybe I'll save that for a future episode. But I did want to touch on one thing, which is I hear a lot of people talking about, is this the end of the bull cycle? What happens if we get a Fed pause in December? What happens if inflation comes back? What if this goes wrong or this? And they're afraid that we're going to have like a 2022 style bear market. You know, if we just stop from here, the bull market won't come and we'll have this 2022 style bear market. But I want to highlight that the only way you get an epic bear market like that is if before that you have a parabolic stage where things get crazy frothy and a ton of leverage enters the system. You cannot have the epic collapse without the epic run up. And so that's just not something I'm afraid of. Like if we did have a pause or like some sort of thing came up that kind of threw I'm thinking of a curveball in our plans. That's not going to like cause the whole market to just get obliterated. Like we definitely would probably have a pullback, but it's not going to be like 2022. That happens because the market gets super frothy, prices get way overvalued, a ton of leverage enters the system, and when that happens, when you build a Jenga tower crazy high and you've taken all the pieces out, it takes a little bit of a push and the whole thing collapses. Right now, we're sitting pretty healthy. We're sitting pretty solid. We don't have a lot of those structural issues that you see at a late stage bull market. So you have to have the run up, the parabolic run up first before you can have that collapse. So it's not like a huge fear of mine currently is that, you know, if some sort of curveball got thrown into the mix, I'm not worried about this like epic 2022 style bear market. It would just mean that, you know, we have a stunted bull market. It's not quite as epic as we hoped. And, you know, then we have kind of what we had over 2023, 2024, kind of these years of just kind of like slowly trending up. And I don't think that's what's gonna happen. My current case is Altseason in February. 2025 is gonna be insanely bullish. It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have an epic bull run. I'm really pumped. I see nothing stopping that. In fact, I've seen every possible light that can turn green has turned green, and it is unfathomable how lucky we are for this 2025 cycle. But for those who are fearful that some little thing is going to come disrupt it, just remember that you cannot have a 2022 epic style collapse without first having that parabolic run up and a ton of instability and leverage enter the system. That's it. We're going to end this episode here. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. This should be coming out tomorrow, the day of Thanksgiving. So you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Remember, again, this is investment advice. I hold anything that I'm talking about, and you genuinely should do your own research because you genuinely will get wrecked if you don't. If you don't have your own conviction, you're going to lose. You're just like straight, like there's so many people that have lost money investing in Bitcoin, even though it's basically gone up only and it's now setting all-time highs. People have lost fortunes investing in Bitcoin. And the reason they have is because they didn't know what they were doing. Even though people told them about Bitcoin, they were right. Bitcoin was going to go up. They lost money because they didn't know what they're doing. So you got to know what you're doing if you want to win. Do not be lazy. Good luck. Have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll catch you later.